United States became involved in international politics. This mainly involved the dollar diplomacy. This was a form of political economic intervention. Worldwide politics. The end of the war triggered the downfall of various monarchies and ended 5 of the last modern empires of Russia, Germany, China, Ottoman Turkey, and Austria-Hungary. The decade sparked multiple revolutions. The Portuguese, 5th October 1910, the Mexican Revolution in November 1910, and the Russian Revolution, October 1917. These events overthrew many leaders and governments.
On July 28, 1914, the Great War, or World War I, or the war that would end all wars, was started. The tension was high in Europe. It all started when a Serbian assassinated the Archduke of Austria-Hungary. This upset the Austria-Hungarians, so they declared war on the Serbs. The Serbs had a big ally, though, Russia, and through Russia, France. Germany proceeded to join with the Austria-Hungarians. The Germans declared war on France and Russia. But the French and British pushed the Germans back. Trench warfare started again. Right after this, war started on Eastern Front between Germany and Austria-Hungary versus Russia. Both sides tried to gain allies. Russia, the British, and France, the allies, got Italy, Japan, Romania, and so on to join the war, while Germany got Turkey. On the Western Front, it was a stalemate. The Germans' plan was to first take over France, then Russia. To attack France, they would have to go through neutral Belgium because the France-German border was well protected. The Belgians fought back, but the Germans soon won. This taking over of Belgium upset the British, so they joined in. The Germans fought the French and British back to Paris. After this, Germany sent a hologram to Mexico to have them fight U.S. in the war. The British intercepted this and sent it to the U.S. USA didn't like this and joined the war. Together, the French, the British, and the Americans pushed the Germans back, eventually ending the war.
On June 6, 1912, Mount Katmai erupted in Alaska. The mountain exploded and spread ash across southern Alaska. Magma that was stored 10 kilometers below the surface flooded across the valleys. In just 2 weeks, ash was floating in Europe and Africa. This was the biggest eruption in the 20th century.
February 3, 1913. The 16th Amendment was passed allowing the Congress to levy taxes without it varying based on different states' populations. 2 months later, on April 8th, the 17th Amendment was passed. The Constitution was written so that the senators were elected by state legislators. This amendment overruled that, making it so senators were elected by people. While the Ottomans were finishing up their war with Italy, the Russians created the Balkan League, which consisted of Serbia, Bulgaria, Greece, and Montenegro. The Russians created this league to take territory away from the Turks. The Balkans were victorious, taking over almost all of the Ottomans' remaining territory in Europe. Soon after, the Second Balkan War took place. This occurred when the victorious Balkans fought over the territory they had recently gained from the Turks. Your mom like hoes, but can't find the perfect one? Then I have a solution for you. Our all-new legendary gardening hose will remake gardening for you. Buy now at www.hosefordays.com.
Man, those are some beautiful hoes.
1918 Spanish flu pandemic. The Spanish flu, which lasted from January 1918 to December 1920, was a wide outbreak of an unusually deadly influenza. The pandemic involved H1N1 influenza virus. It infected around 500 million people worldwide and killed between 50 to 100 million. This was, at the time, 3 to 5% of the world's population. This made it one of the deadliest natural disasters in the history of mankind.
Most influenza pandemics affect the elderly, the sick, and the weak, but this pandemic has affected seemingly healthy people. During the first year of the pandemic, life expectancy dropped about 12 years. Given that it was only 48 for men and 54 for women, this period, 1918 to 1920, became one of the lowest life expectancies in America. During the 1910s, technology involving music was inefficient. The artist would group around a cone-shaped device and sing into it. The cone would direct the needle to put grooves into a disc. This method was inefficient as the singers would have to move towards and away from the cone to change the volume. So most music was performed at places such as vaudevilles. During this period, jazz and blues were very popular.
Artists such as the W.C. Hanby and the original Dixieland Jazz Band were some of the most notable singers. Some songs included Moonlight Bay by American Quartet, and Oh You Beautiful Doll, also by American Quartet, and Oh What a Pal Was Mary by Shannon Foer.
July 11th, 1914, Babe Ruth made his debut. The 1910s was an important decade in science and technology. The world's largest telescope was created, allowing astronomers to view millions of stars. The first synthetically created plastic was created and sold. Electric refrigerators were sold. Airplanes were improved, allowing many new height and speed records. Ford Motor Company created the Model T, which was a popular choice for those who could own a car. Ford also had added assembly lines to increase the producing rate of the cars. Trucks replaced horse wagons to transport stuff. Radio was improved and an efficient radio receiver was invented. Albert Einstein's general theory of relativity shocked the world. Lots of technology was invented for World War I, including the tank and sonar, which could detect underwater objects.
Tramp, tramp, tramp. And oh...
Artists such as W.C. Hanby and the original Dixie
was passed allowing the Congress to levy taxes without it varying based on different states' populations. 2 months later, on April 8th, the 17th Amendment was passed. The Constitution was written so that the senators were elected by state legislators. This amendment overruled that, making it so senators were elected by people.